the final part of our episode today, I always like to ask my guests, what is the best piece of advice or insight that anybody ever told you about parenting, or that you've just learned on your own along the way that you think all our moms out there listening really need to know?
I would say that everyone has advice and suggestions, and just to, put it in the back of your head, because you never know when that piece could come back and be the brilliant situation that you have been looking for. You just never know.
Yeah.
And everyone does everything differently. All kids' personalities are all different. And so something may work for this family but doesn't work for yours, but it could later in the future.
Right.
And you just don't know until you get to that situation.
Right.
Hi,
I love that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, is that for you?
Thank you.
How about you, Kathryn?
I would say to remember that parenting is a marathon, it's not a sprint, and so you cannot use up all your energy in one day or 1 month or 1 year or even all in one child, and then, oh my gosh, now you have 2, now you have 3, now you have 4. You have to keep the long view in mind. You have to think in terms of what's sustainable, what's realistic, what's really going to work. And I know from my family, when we were making childcare decisions, it's like, oh, well, maybe we can juggle this. If I go to the office at 6 in the morning and then we'll do this at this time. And then we're like, no, this is not going to work long term.
Right.
We will not survive this. We need to, bite the bullet and budget for childcare for something that's going to actually work for us. And there's so many different pieces to parenting and so many different things to get in order. Maybe you can't deal with all of them at once, but if you just sort of take a deep breath and you deal with them one at a time, then once you have one thing squared away, then that's settled and you can kind of move on to the next thing. And then as time goes on, more things come up and you just sort of have to deal with them as they come and kind of keep your own head on straight, take care of yourself, take care of your partner, and not try to make everything all perfect all the time, and not also think that you need to be a martyr because you will burn out.
Yeah.
You have to think long term, what's the best overall thing, and then you realize, okay, well, maybe doing this for my kid right now is not the most important thing. I need to teach him to, or whatever, or I can't help with this right now, and that's okay. What can I do to get through this situation?
Yeah. Excellent.
I have so many tidbits, but
Tidbits are great. No, tidbits are great.
I would say from the beginning, make sure you have the right partner. I mean, you can't always be sure, but partner, if you have a true partner that will be there in the thick of it with you, emotionally and literally doing stuff matters. And then if you don't work out, try your very best to co-parent in a way that puts your kids first, which goes without saying, I feel like, but in action it's different than words.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah. I am fortunate to have a co-parent that I get along with and his partner, and I feel like we are luckier than we could ever imagine.
That's great.
But I think, I tend to be very critical of myself, and that sometimes translates to me being critical of other people. And I don't so much mean, I'm pointing out things about them and making fun. It's more like, well, I wouldn't do that, or why would they do that, or that's not good enough to be my friend. It kind of started when I was very young. My mom always pointed it out to me because, she's like, you're going to have some trouble if you don't let some things go, which it was more about me being critical of myself, and I still struggle with it. Okay. But I would say that, parenting, becoming a parent taught me, like Liz said, everybody's different. All children are different. Before you think a child is bratty, you don't know that child's story, and you don't know those parents' stories.
Right.
Because I have had moments that I have nightmares about, can't fall asleep at night worrying about what I said to my child, or how someone else perceived me as a parent. And I don't think there's anything that could make you feel worse, because we're all trying to do the best that we can. Yeah. But it's a hard job. I had no idea, had no clue when I was signing up. At 30 years old, I had no clue that this was going to be so hard.
You had your first child at age 30.
Yeah.
That's what you meant by that.
Yeah. I had no idea what I was doing, and I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm taking it a day at a time, a situation at a time, doing the best that I can. And sometimes I say the wrong things. Sometimes I'm angry. Sometimes my kids do things that blow my mind. Why did you do that? That's not okay.
Right.
I just, and even if you don't have small children right now, you certainly have seen small children, or you have had them when you were younger, or whatever. Please try to understand that we are all going on very little sleep, and it's emotional, and and to just be careful with your words and your facial expressions, because it does break our hearts.
Wow.
I've struggled with that lately.
Because we're all human, and we make mistakes just like our kids make mistakes.
Right. Right. Excellent, ladies. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you
Thanks for
all
having
for
us.
joining us, and we'll look forward to having you join us again for another Mom Powers episode.
Bobo.